Do business owners still have the right to refuse service to anyone? The Supreme Court seems to think so. Welcome back to another episode of Big Sexy's News with Views. The ignorance and lack of research by these two never fail to amaze me. But I guess when your opinion is all that matters, you don't need those two things. Please welcome to the center stage, Dumb and Dumber.
The Supreme Court finally made a ruling about that bakery that refused to make a wedding cake for the gay couple.
Like 5 years ago.
Yeah, this happened forever ago. It's gotten to the Supreme Court now, and they finally made their ruling. And it's disheartening, right, to say the least, especially during Pride Month. Now, the long-awaited decision in the Masterpiece Cake Shop case mostly avoided the hot-button question of whether civil rights laws could lead to an order that the baker, Jack Phillips, make a wedding cake for such couples. So essentially, they didn't say whether or not he should be forced to make the cake, okay? But instead, Justice Anthony Kennedy's decision for the court focused on the fact that Phillips was treated with hostility by Colorado's Civil Rights Commission, action that the Supreme Court ruled violates the First Amendment's free exercise clause. So essentially, it was how he was treated after.
Right.
That they thought violated his, First Amendment rights, not necessarily the fact that, oh, you must make a cake for this. So they didn't really get into that. So he said it did not do so, that the Civil Rights Commission did not do so with religious neutrality that the Constitution requires. And the court, like I said, avoided ruling on the larger question of whether Colorado's civil rights law could be held to order Phillips to bake a cake for a same-sex couple. So obviously, there are people who dissented.
Right.
Obviously, notoriously RBG, and Sonia Sotomayor, and Chief Justice John Roberts and Justices Stephen Breyer, Samuel Alito, Elena Kagan, and Neil Gorsuch, nobody's surprised there, joined Kennedy's opinion in whole. So I want to hear your thoughts on this before I get into it.
Well, and it was 7-2, so that's pretty disparaging and kind of depressing considering all the things we know about equal rights, LGBTQ+, whatever. The positive. Well, he also was on the Today Show and gave an interview and told Hoda and Savannah that he still reserves the right to make cakes for people. He's just not going to make cakes for things he doesn't believe in. And Ginsburg, let me read this. I know we didn't have it in the graphic, but Ginsburg said. Because she was vehemently against this, and we love RBG. She said, when a couple contacts a bakery for a wedding cake, the product they're seeking is a cake celebrating their wedding, not a cake celebrating heterosexual weddings or same-sex weddings, and that is the service the couple were denied.
I don't want to drag this on and on because the argument these two make through the whole video is it's really idiotic. But there's a couple of things I'd like to address. First of all, when did June become Gay Pride Month? I never heard of it. It doesn't matter what people feel about this decision. When this case came up 5 years ago, this poor man lost everything. He lost his bakery. He was fined all kinds of money and got stripped of his First Amendment rights just because two gay guys got ass hurt because they didn't get their way. And honestly, who the hell claps by snapping their fingers? Other than this nutcase. Oh, wait a minute, I remember. In the 60s, at poetry readings, they called them beatniks, if I remember right.
All they wanted was just a cake celebrating their union, like just the actual event of them being married. But this guy, because his religious beliefs said he doesn't believe in homosexuality, he couldn't make the cake.
But here's the thing, it's a service that you're providing. Right. You're not saying, now I support your homosexual sexual intercourse and now I will engage in it. That's not what it's saying, right? And I think we get into something, it's just service you're providing, right? And so because of that, we have to follow civil rights laws, and you can't discriminate against people for different reasons, right? And sexual orientation should be one of those things. And so I think that he discriminated against, these people because of their sexual orientation. I think the problem is with this ruling, we get into a really, really slippery slope, because if we, according to Justice Kennedy, if we maintain that we must have religious neutrality, that neutrality must then extend to any religion. And how do we define religion if people follow it? So I could write a book tomorrow that says my religion is I don't know, hates all Christians or hates all black people, and I must kill them.
Right. Well,
so then I can do that, or I can say black people aren't allowed into my business because that's what my religion says. Like, I think sexual identity and sexual orientation needs to be treated in the same way as the color of your skin.
I agree.
First of all, Hannah, as you keep saying, I think. Well, it has nothing to do with what you think. This whole decision is based on facts. And the facts are that this is based on his personal beliefs according to his religion and is protected by his First Amendment. This has nothing to do with civil rights either. Civil rights is a whole different ballgame and a whole different amendment. Don't try to blend the two together like they're the same, because they are not. And finally, this book of religion you talk about writing, with a little research, you would know it already exists. And it's called the Quran. And it teaches no matter what race, no matter what religion, if you do not convert to Islam, you must be killed. As much as I hate it, it's still recognized as a religion under the First Amendment of the United States of America. Well, I've had enough of this one. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hope you liked it. If you did, please hit that like button. And don't forget to smack that big old subscribe button and the bell next to it. I hope you had a great day. And as always, until next time, bye-bye.